Hello, welcome to the GA Plus Analysis Show. We'll start slightly different this week than we have previous weeks. Given the fact it's week 9, we have some cracking results from over the weekend. By the way, Séamus is actually not frozen here. He is breathing. He's just obviously not happy with the result. So we said we'd start with this just to kind of rile Séamus up more than anything else. Maybe it's a good starting point, it's a good conversation to start off with on a positive. What do you think, Séamus?
This is how you know your colleagues respect you when they start rubbing stuff like this in your face. It's great. Like the scenes at the end. Like, what can you say? Like, it was absolutely, it was stunning. It was incredible. The performance, the result, the fact that the Croker was filling up with the Dublin supporters coming in for the football as well. So like, it was main stage stuff for Dublin hurling. And they deserve that. Every single player there deserves that. Neil O'Callaghan deserves every single bit of the plaudits that he's getting at the moment. It was just an amazing performance from a superb group of players. I see Neil O'Callaghan with his baba. Like, it's, these are momentous results. Everybody else in the country was talking about this afterwards. I know Galway Tip played in the afternoon later after it. Everybody was talking about what happened in Dublin. So, those scenes are, they're important for Dublin hurling. It's a moment in time for them. And to be able to do it the way they did with 14 men for 55 minutes, it's an incredible achievement. I think the story is about Dublin. It's not about what Limerick didn't do. It's about Dublin. And I think
that's actually the key point, though, Séamus. It's not to think about Limerick and potentially their underperformance. It's about the performance that Dublin put in that 70 plus minutes and that 55 minutes down to 14 men.
100%. And the plan that they had, and the way they attacked Limerick, and I could have put together 25 minutes of things that Limerick didn't do as well as they have. So like, we put together pieces, Nolly, on like what Limerick did really well below in Walsh Park, what they did extremely well in the Gaelic grounds against Cork, like high execution, high pace, high intensity stuff. We've done that, but there was just a fraction off, and I mean a fraction in everything that happened. In Aaron Gallan hitting Sean Brennan's helmet, to Cathal O'Neill coming in and just having two balls go awry.
Yeah.
It was only 2 points. It was only 2 points at the end. And only for Conor McHugh throwing his body in front of a ball. Like, it was 2 points in the end. But the story is it was 14 men. It's a stunning Dublin performance.
But it's not coming from nowhere either, Séamus. Like, in the Leinster Championship, we saw glimpses of what Dublin were about and how good they were and how tactical they were aware in terms of like space and personnel and running off shoulders. Like, we've seen it in glimpses. We haven't necessarily seen it for 70 minutes. So this is the first performance that we've seen for 70 minutes. And we discussed this before. We discussed that this Dublin team are very good hurlers. They're not potentially the manufactured hurlers that people often.
No, it's a different generation. Yeah, no, it's a
completely different generation and very, very well coached. On the other side, again, Limerick probably not to the levels that we expect them, and it's because they've been the benchmark for the last 7+ years. But on the other side, then we had the Tipperary results and the Galway results, which was ultimately after probably 39 minutes, the game was more or less dead, which was it's a pity.
So disappointing. Yeah, and again, if you're talking about flashes, like we talked Galway, then we were talking about Galway and what Niall Donoghue had done in terms of discipline at the back, in shape, in all the things that we thought that they were kind of making strides in, and then the Leinster final was non-competitive, and now they're after putting in their worst performance of the year against Tipperary. Like, that scoreline doesn't reflect.
No, they got a goal in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah,
and
they weren't 8 points. They weren't within 8 points of Tipperary. Like, it was 11 or 12 point game at least, and that's without Tip hitting maximum gear. So, we see Dublin put together a performance of 70 minutes with no margin for error. They had to sustain the level of performance that they had from beginning to end against the Colossus, right? Galway, they probably didn't have as much room for error either. Like they were coming up against a Tipperary team that are building really well, methodically. Liam Cahill has a plan, and in fairness to him, last year, and I'll be fairly open and say it, like this time last year, June last year, I was like, yeah, I don't know what Liam Cahill's doing in Tipperary because it's not working. It's really not working. But when they approached the league, it was very determined approach to the league by Liam Cahill. The league is going to give us the confidence to know we can compete. It did. The league final wasn't good, but they said that's okay. Let's compartmentalize.
I think David Herity going in there has made a massive difference as well.
Huge.
He's the hurling coaching, and you can see now that
huge.
They're kind of gone back to their roots in many ways. Ball to hand, quick ball inside into pockets, fellas running off shoulders. Their movement is incredible, and that's what we always expect from Tipperary. It's just take the ball down, pop the ball around, and then get the ball into the best full forward line potentially that we've seen this year.
And there's a super blend. Like to me, the engine room. We'll talk about it in a while. But the engine room of this Tipperary team now is the new blood in the half forward line. To me, it's the Sam O'Farrell, it's the Andrew Ormond, it's the Jake Morris. So that's the fulcrum of this team. Like then you have the Ronan Mahers, the Willie O'Connors, the John McGraths, the Jason Fords, like
the Mikey Breens, these fellas that have been around.
Séamus Kennedy. Yeah, these boys then balance the whole thing. But it's, to be fair, it's the boys that Liam Cahill has brought with him that are doing the business and really stepping up the caliber of this team. So a bit to talk about now, but to me it's kind of it's going to be a disappointing game in Limerick and a super game in Dublin. That's what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah. So I know that you're going to focus on. Well, I gave you no option really because I said I'd look at the Tipperary Galway game. So that means I forced your hand into looking at the Dublin.
You said Séamus,
slightly unfair, but maybe you're
revisit this painful game in detail. I think that's pretty much what you said. So, but listen, we can get into, and I will talk about what I thought that schematically that they did really, really well. But again, it was when we went up against Kilkenny in between 06 and 13. If you didn't match the intensity, if you couldn't be at the pitch of the game physically with them, you didn't have a chance. And I put together just an example of the things that Dublin did extremely well, and it was pure. It was determination, and it was energy and drive to get there and to win the ball. So I put together a piece on this because this is the foundation that everything is built off, right? So Paddy Doyle, super game, not a great ball out, but look at the ball is broken down here, right? But look at the intent. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Dublin players here. This is them getting back. This is them all day long. They played with a stacked, let's say, Dublin half of the field. Doyle gets really well, a good kind of hand pass around the body here, and it gets out here. Keane Lynch, Adam English, two of the best players in the game. Look at Conor McHugh, right? I thought he was just phenomenal all day today. Adam English has been decimating teams all year. He does so well to just get the touch in, ball away, Dunphy's in. Here we have Bellew. Bellew wins a free. This was them, right? And it was just so scrappy. Here we have Rian McBride, super game, and just a different ask against Diarmaid Byrnes, just the pace. This is what they had to face all day, right? Outnumbered 15-14, outnumbered in the Limerick half the field. Limerick always had more numbers than them, so they had to fight to come out with ball. They just had to. Look at Rian McBride here, right? Like this is what Keane Lynch does on the regular. And then because Limerick had committed so many, he's able to slip forward, and that's a really difficult score to win. But it's just pure determination effort. Here we have Brian Hayes. Brian Hayes did so well. This is they attacked the half back line by playing short ball to hand. Rian McBride then dances back, plays the ball over. This is good Limerick setup, and this is what they have done in times past where they've dominated the middle of the field. But when Dunphy collects here, right, he has to step through tackles, and he does. He breaks the line. He even gets advantage ball away to McHugh, who takes a shot. Limerick played the short puck out inconsistently, but here Kyle Hayes plays it really well, right? So he's actually after carrying forward into space, and he's after hitting on the front foot. Hegarty is ahead of Doyle here. Doyle has space to make up. But look at this. Look at that effort. Just to cut it out. Hego killed from the run. Out to McHugh. McHugh to Curry. Curry inside. Great run inside off the shoulder. This man, like 5 points from play. Monster scores. Monster scores. And they asked Conor Burke to sit back on the 45 and defend behind the man-marking job that Conor McHugh was doing on Cian Lynch. So their plan was, let's man-mark Cian Lynch. Let's try and reduce his influence in the game, but let's not expose ourselves. Teams have tried to do that. Waterford tried to do it with Tadhg, but Tadhg played way deeper.
Way too deep.
Way too deep. And we talked about that Tadhg played in on the D when Cian was way out the field. So Conor Burke sat on the 45, and then when the ball broke, he, as the spare man, supported it. So he attacked. It's like what Declan Hannon used to do for Limerick.
Than defensive, like, as in he nearly sat in front of Cian, so Cian can't get that ball that's coming short off the half back line and our midfielders. So he actually kind of was with his back to Cian at times, which caused them problems because Limerick played through the lines a lot, and because they had faith in someone on Cian, well, then obviously they couldn't get the ball to him.
And you remember when we talked, so this is last week, we talked about the long-range shooting of Kilkenny and how well they did it in the Leinster final. I think it was 2 weeks ago now at the Leinster final.
Yeah.
And we were saying that could trouble Limerick. A team that can strike from distance accurately would trouble Limerick because you're not bringing their half-back line, which is the strength of the team. You're not bringing their half-back line and a really disciplined full-back line into the game. You're taking them out. And that, to me, then, Dublin nailed that. They played from the back to the front with accurate short passes that were to hand. We saw Brian Hayes picking out Rian McBride. That was done on the regular. Brian Hayes was exceptional. If we could spend time on every single one of them. But that energy that we saw there in those clips, they were against the odds. They were behind the man. They were outnumbered in most of the cases. And then in their own half, that's where they were drawing their numbers back because they weren't going to let the Limerick half forward line beat them. And at the same time, then they were trusting their full back line then to do their job man on man inside. Another thing that I saw that they did really, really well was they decided they weren't going to go long on puckouts. They were going to go short. But how they went short was really, really interesting. So when we looked at their puckouts set up here, this is really important. So Sean Brennan, flawless decision making, right? So he goes short. He goes short here to Dunphy in the corner. He's got options out in the middle of the field. So we've got on the near side, you can actually see Crummy before he goes off, or on the side here near the Hogan stand. We've got Conor Burke in the middle of the field, and we've got Paddy Doyle on the 45. So we actually have options back here to work the ball out, and we've committed numbers to the Hogan stand side to create space over on the Cusack stand side. And when you create space on the Cusack stand side, Gerard Hegarty is locked in because he's held by the half back who was drifted back. You see there on the 45. And when he's held, look at this. Rian McBride should have caught it now, right? But look at the acre of space he was in. And that's poor execution from Limerick. Here we have we've got 6 Dublin backs inside the 45. And again, we're loaded over towards the Hogan stand. We're drawn in the Limerick midfield because Limerick like to go man-to-man on puckouts. So by drawing this many men deep, Will O'Donoghu's been pulled deep, Tom Morrissey's been pulled back in to hold him, and we create this channel of space down here. And when we have this channel of space down here, look at this ball, this delivery from Doyle. Look, right in front of Cian O'Sullivan. He gets around Sean Finn and he's away. Again, look at the numbers over here. They loaded the Hogan stand. So they loaded the right-hand side of the field over and over again. Crummy actually got a score of it in the first 10 minutes of the game. But look at the angle of the run here from Brian Hayes. You can see the arrow. So he's sitting there in the middle, but Conor McHugh wins a super ball. Again, more amazing stuff from that man. But look, Brian Hayes attacks. Breaks down a little bit. But look who's sport inside. Yeah, Curry. Off the shoulder. Just that we're not going to deliver long ball that's going to get swallowed up by the good Limerick defenders. We're going to work the ball through the hand. Again, halfback on the right-hand side of the field pulls the Limerick half forward out. Conor Burke is free on the 45. So Sean Brennan, I hit Conor Burke. Pick it up, step inside, work the ball through the hands. Work the ball through the hands. Dunphy takes a carry, hands, very, very calm. Ronan Hayes steps inside, off the shoulder, Brian Hayes away. So just really good decision making. Ball in front, Fergal Whiteley. Here we have this is just another aspect of the job that Sean Brennan did. Look at this, right? Ball goes over the bar from Hegarty, trying to kill the play in the second half. Goes down and ties his lace, right? So this was at I think it was at 6 minutes past. Oh, sorry, that's Aidan O'Connor hit that point. He then, after he ties his lace, he walks around the back of the goal. This puck out took 34 seconds. 34 seconds in the second half.
It's funny now, we haven't discussed this in detail, but this is one point that I actually picked out as well from the Galway point. That Galway should have actually done this, but didn't do it.
Yeah.
Talk to this.
Yeah, but like then, right? It's funny because the ball then goes down the field, and it will. I think I've clipped it a different way, but that delayed puck out goes down and creates the goal chance before. So the Cian O'Sullivan, Sean Curry broke through, hand pass across to Rian McBride, couldn't gather it, and John Heatherton was free at the far post, and then that was kind of a warning sign. So that was the first warning shot. Kyle Hayes, Diarmuid Burns, and Adam English were left for dead on the Hogan stand side, and that was a warning shot. The 2 goals arrived within 5 minutes of that, and that was Sean Brennan controlling the tempo of the game, controlling the pace, and getting Dublin into the right situation when Limerick had gone just that point ahead.
It's funny because, and I'll talk to this in a second, it's exactly what you should do, and it's something that Galway really, really struggled with. It's there, and I'm not going to get stuck into it now because I'll end up talking too much. I'll have to show the clips, but you're absolutely spot on. It's the importance of, as you said, composure, particularly when a team is getting a small bit of a run on you. Like you're often, told to tie your lace, go behind the goal if you're a keeper, go down, potentially start a bit of a melee.
Take off the helmet.
Is that the correct terminology in the rule book? Melee, to slow down the game, to get your your breath back, to compose yourself, to be able to get instructions of the pitch, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I noticed was once the ball hit the deck for Dublin, they were the ones that were hoovering it up. So they were very, very confident in the ruck ball, which is very unusual for a team to play against Limerick and to be coming up with so much ruck ball.
Yeah, but that's twice now because Cork did it as well in the Munster final, and last year in the All-Ireland semi-final. So here we are again, this another knockout game in Croke Park, and it's tough to take now. I think I was talking to Collie, the producer, before we came online, and I said, the feel in Limerick now is just the dead realization that we're not top of the mountain anymore. We're not the best team in Ireland anymore. And I think last year we had that feeling where we still are. We just didn't perform in the semi, and we still only lost by a couple of points. But, next year we'll go again. But we've gone again next year. And we've been beaten in a Munster final, and we've been beaten by 14 men in an All-Ireland qualifier. And that's hard. That's a hard pill to swallow. And it's just tough because every team is bringing their best effort. Every team is putting on their 2 gloves, and they're giving you haymakers. They're giving you everything they've got. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting for a team to take that again and again. There's no easy outs. And in the Puckout clips that we just showed there, remember a couple of weeks back we were talking about what Davy Fitzgerald did with Clare, Brendan Bugler, the half back going up the field. Challenging.
That was like 2013, 12, 13.
Exactly.
Started doing that.
Exactly. Yeah. And it caught teams off kilter. But that's what Dublin did there now, right? They pulled everybody over to one side of the field, obviously trying to create space at the far side. Their halfbacks sat real deep. Their cornerbacks sat in to create a lane to the halfbacks on the outside, challenging their corner forwards to cut that out. But then leaving a wide channel then between halfback, centre back for the midfield ball. And they hit that again and again and again. And Limerick normally deal very well with short puckouts.
It's because Limerick goes
to work it out.
Because Limerick go zonal, you're not going to have a Kyle Hayes come from one side of the field to the other, because that goes completely against the very essence of what Limerick are about. And they don't necessarily want to follow in. So what I like, just from, again, watching it and talking about it, what Dublin did was they wanted to get bodies around a specific area, and they said if we can get as many bodies and more bodies than Limerick can, and we turn over the ball, we are in possession and we'll run. That's what it looked like. It's funny because you talk about like Limerick not being on top of the mountain anymore, and that's absolutely understandable. But like this time last year, when it came to the Leinster final, do you remember we spoke about Dublin's puckouts? Was it like 12 or 14 puckouts went short against Kilkenny last year and ended up with zero? And we were incredibly critical of the setup and why they done it. But it's amazing how a different coach brings in a different strategy, and in 12 months how that can change so quickly and have the complete opposite impact versus what happened.
So like nothing has really changed over the last 7 years. Like when I was in the dressing room with Kinnerk and Sean O'Donnell, who's video analysis and does a lot of work on her own puckout, the target was always to decimate the opposition puckout. I mean, destroy it, right? So we win 60% of our own puckout, but we win 75% of opposition puckout. That was the target. It was destroy the opposition puckout, and they've done it routinely. Limerick's own puckout was actually pretty good on Saturday. Nicky found his man repeatedly. What they didn't do so well was with the extra man too often, and we've, it's a bugbear of mine, is a fullback that gets a ball, even if he is the spare man in the 14 versus 15, stand and strike. Sean Finn did it twice, and Sean Finn is an exceptional player, absolutely exceptional player. He's well able to actually work the ball out and run with it. But they stood and struck, and they went direct an awful lot. They were tempted into going direct, and it just didn't work too often because the ball didn't stick up the far end, because Dublin had the numbers at the back. They lost the number. They lost the number of the forwards, but it didn't affect the game plan they had. The game plan they had was win the ball in the half back line midfield, work it to half forward to hand short, and then spray it in to Curry or to Keane O'Sullivan, which they didn't do that often. They didn't hit the full forward line that often.
From my watching of the game, when Crummy got sent off, they ended up going with 4 across their half forward line. So he left 1 inside. So as a consequence, their 15 position was gone. They just took that player out. They dropped everyone back 1, but they played with 4 across the half forward line, which basically meant another player was going to come into the mix. As you said there, it's easier for them then to play the ball around because there's more bodies. They can go deep and they can sit off. And we actually spoke with this a couple of weeks ago, that Antrim with Davy, they tried to do that in Galway and did it really, really well, and did it against Offaly in the kind of relegation final up in Offaly, where only for they got sent off, they were getting really, really good exchange from it. So very mature and very well tactically set up Dublin were, which I felt were very impressive on the day.
But that has to be the blueprint now. Let's say, like Limerick, like unless there's a management change, like that's not going to change next year. So like that's a way to attack a team that press up on the puck out like Limerick do. So they press their forwards up on the puck out and want you to go long because they'll win go long. Limerick's purple patch in the second half came when Sean Brennan actually started landing ball on the 45. The rec ball didn't help him. So it's funny. If you find a way that's successful, Davy found it in the early teens, that really unsettled teams that they didn't know how to actually defend it. Limerick found it with the puckouts in 2018, 19, 20, when you had this create huge space at the sides and break out at different kind of depths,
different angles.
Hegarty, Morrissey, Keane Lynch. The people couldn't stop the Limerick puckout. So every now and again, a team comes with something that kind of completely unhinges what the other teams are trying to do. But then building on that, right, in terms of, I mentioned him already, but I think it's important to focus in that when they were setting up to have the numbers in the middle, they still relied on their full back line and their backs to win their battles, to win their one-on-one matchups. And that's not easy to do. Like Paddy Smith, remember Nolan Park was a very uncomfortable reckoning for Dublin, to concede 5 goals and to just have a mare of mistakes, poor handling, like completely unforced errors, and to concede so many goals. They're not bad players. They just made bad mistakes.
You could technically argue it's similar enough with Wexford and Parnell Park as well, when Lee Chilman did so.
Yeah. So like for me, the standout player in the back 6 was Conor McHugh. And And again, like, a lot is made of the fact that he left the football to play hurling because he's grow for hurling. But like, there was tough times for McHugh earlier on in the championship where it wasn't as easy. But I just thought he was given the job. He was on Keane Lynch early in the day. I just put together a few pieces of just the critical, I suppose, part that he had in this game. So here we have himself and Lynch. Like Keane is one of the strongest, physically strongest players. You just don't knock him off a ball. He's extremely good to win the ball to hand from ground. McHugh took that physical battle. I've circled Conor Burke then in the middle. So McHugh followed Keane out to the sideline. You can see Tom Morrissey close as well. Conor Burke stays and holds the middle because we're not going to be exposed if Lynch wins this ball. But look at just the sheer physicality and desire to win that ball. And then Doyle gets in. And look, Burke says, okay, ball is won. I'm going to come up and support. That's so key that when the ball is in possession, that you come up and support as a spare man. Here we have, so he's behind Tom Morrissey here. Tom Morrissey's after getting a run on him. Puckout from Mickey Quaid is on. It's absolutely spot on. But Tom Morrissey just delays a small bit. But Conor McHugh gets ball to ground, wins, carries. Look at the hard carry, breaks through. Look at Will O'Donoghue. Like, how do you break through Will O'Donoghue like that? Limerick have numbers back. Kyle Hayes still facing the ball. Mike Casey behind him. We should be set up well here. Ball has gone to ground. Adam English is there. But look, ball is won over Kyle Hayes. What a score from Sean Curry. Like, they did this over and over again. They just did everything that was difficult and made it look easy. Here we have McHugh. Now, again, he's in a foot race with Tom Morrissey in the first half. This is a very uncomfortable place, Noli. Like, the ball is dead, right? It's on the side. There's nowhere to go but back here. Tom Morrissey tries to cut it out. Look at the ball. Like, imagine the balls it takes to just put the ball between your legs as a cornerback. And look at this. Then carries forward. Patience. Good hand pass. Create a good shot for Keane O'Sullivan. Just incredible stuff. Here we have Hegarty then. Last second shot. Where does McHugh put his body? But on the line. Like this, it was a 3-point game here, right? Hegarty has hit wonder goals before, but McHugh literally puts his body on the line and saves. That was advantage now. The ball went back for a free on Peter Casey. But he was just immense. He was absolutely everywhere. And it was just a good example again of when he had the ball, he made the right decision. McHugh knows he can't shoot. So he didn't cross the 65 and go for it. Even with the breeze behind him. And again, right? This is, we did a piece on Hugh Lawler 2 weeks ago, right? This isn't me being a full backline committee member, right? But that was huge. He won his individual battle. Whether it was on Keane Lynch for a large part of the first half, whether it was on Tom Morrissey when he was picking him up, he just won it again and again. And he had the athleticism and the energy to carry the ball forward and break the line. And once you've broken the line against Limerick, you can bring your half forward line into play now because they're running towards you and you can pop. And it was very uncomfortable.
He's kind of like old school in the sense that he doesn't do anything like spectacular. He gets the ball to ground and he wins the ball. He looks for a forward to pass it to, and it's game over. You don't try and see him trying to catch a ball over Tom Morrissey. You don't see him trying to out wrestle a Keane Lynch because he knows that's not what his game is. Simple, flick the ball, get it onto the ground, kick it in front of himself, and look for someone that's going to shoot.
Yep, and so like I wanted to make sure that we started today just looking at what Dublin did well because again the story is Dublin. And you'd key contributors all over the field. You'd Neil O'Callaghan doing exceptional coaching work in setup defensively, set up on puckouts to stress a Limerick team that's just strong. Just puckouts that they've been exceptional for 7+ years, right? So they completely stressed Limerick out on their own puckout. Then flip over then an area then that was difficult to see, right? And it was just very. It's probably the difference at the end of the day between winning and losing was Limerick's composure.
Yeah.
So from 55 minutes, and all these clips that I put together here are just from 55 minutes on. I could have put together 20 minutes before this, right? But this is just from 55 minutes. Hego was immense, right? He put himself around the field all over the place. Diarmid stands to strike. He had space in front of him, but he actually hits it short. And this was again after 2 goals. Yeah, uncharacteristic. And he's hit the 2 goals have gone in. We needed to get scores at the other end. Hegarty again stands and strikes behind the 65. You know, Hegarty can hit him, but like he's also like one of the best athletes in the field. Cathal O'Neill, poor Cathal hasn't been at the pace of this year. I'm a huge fan of his, but like he puts Declan under enormous pressure here. And here we've got Rian McBride in again. Rian McBride was just everywhere. Then Ronan Hayes, look at this on the turn, super score. Ronan Hayes was exceptional again. Like he took it on. He took it on. Here we have Dunphy, ball out, ball breaks down. Peter Casey. Now he releases Adam English. So this is the key one, right? We're going to pause it here. Like the option was there, perfect option. Chooses Galan. Galan is the one that we want. We just need to execute the pass. That was the key point. He put it directly into Galan's hand. And once the ball was in Galan's hand, I trust him all day long. So English is after making the right decision.
It's strangely Galan didn't actually go on to his good side there, even like.
He had too much time. He almost had too much time. He could have gone left, but then he went right to place the ball. He didn't go for power. He was going for placing it. And again, Brendan didn't know a huge amount about it, but he just made himself as big as he could. And it was huge. So that was, again, you know, a 3-point game. The breakdown could have come there when Galan had the ball, but you know the finish was just hard. Here we have Nicky Quaid work the ball out to Cathal O'Neill. Cathal O'Neill, he just needs to play that to Galan's end. He just needs to put it to hand. There was only 2 points in it at this point. He just needed to hit Galan in the hand. But look at the opposite here, right? Here we've got Sean Brennan. Look at the composure of Dublin at the far side then, right? So Brian Hayes takes the ball. Hegarty is right, has to drop to mark his man. Brian Hayes just brings it forward, and Limerick come too late. Like, what a score from Hayes! Like, and every score for Dublin at that stage of the game was killer for Limerick. And this is an excellent example. So Dublin 2 points up. Look, we're going to play the ball around. We're going to stress Limerick out. That's just frustration, right? And Keane and Hegarty were brilliant all day long, but that was just frustration from Keane to get a hand in there and to you know give away the foul. But here we have Peter Casey running at him. So he's after getting advantage here. He pops the ball out to Hegarty. We paused it there. Shane O'Brien was free. And it just took a presence of mind to say one more pass and we've got a goal. But Hegarty, I think, and I don't like being down on Garrod because he was actually the best forward we had on the day. But he says, I've advantage, so it's worth a pop. But instead of being worth a pop, give the hand pass to O'Brien. O'Brien has a great record. He's after coming onto the field. He's a great record scoring goals. Give that extra pass, that presence of mind. And we've we've a bona fide goal chance. Instead, Conor McHugh gets that body across like we saw. That's composure. And it's unusual. I thought Limerick were exceptional in end game situations for the last number of years. Munster finals against Clare. And they've invariably come out the right side.
Arguably the best ever team to come out of Munster.
Yeah. So like, it's hard to be down on them then because when they play bad. But it was after the 2 goals went in, Limerick actually had lots of ball. Dublin still had a huge amount to do. I saw Rian McBride go off with, was it 8 or 9 minutes left? They were up 2 points, but he was there looking at the clock, going, "Gee, I don't know if we're far enough ahead." Because they were still 14 men. Limerick were still getting a lot of the ball, but it was their composure. It was the Brian Hayes score there. It was the Ronan Hayes score on the turnover. That's what kept them just enough ahead. Sean Curry nailed 2 massive frees, and that's what kept them ahead. Here we have Dublin's composure at the far end. So this is when Sean Brennan goes long here. Here we have the run to the front is excellent. It's Conor O'Rian goes running to the front. But the key run is Cian O'Sullivan to the back. So again, at the late stages of the game, this is why Sean Brennan is after going long, because his backs are tired. Ball breaks from Ron Hayes. Cian O'Sullivan does so well to get between the 2 players, and he plays it back. Look at the ball between hand here. Look, Paddy Smith, beautiful touch, great touch to O'Rian. He cleans up a bad mistake, and Burke again. That was point number 5 for Burke, and he just took it so easily. And the passes were so calm and composed. Here Sean Finn had a chance to grab that first time, but here we have pause it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Limerick jerseys, 5 Limerick of Dublin jerseys. Like, again, there should be enough Limerick men to win this ball. Conor O'Riordan comes up. He made a massive impact when he came in. How hard does he have to work to get the hand pass away here, though? Like, he's to work so hard, and he's operating in a phone box. Great pass to Cian O'Sullivan, fast hands to Curry, and look at this for a score again on the back foot.
That's such that's such a training exercise, as in, like, those kind of conditioning games.
Yeah, and look, Reedy, like David Reedy did so well at times. Like, again, he works so hard. He runs at the defence. He stresses them out. He's got a great run ahead of him. But Dublin are all touch tight, man tight. But Doyle leaves. Look at this. Doyle leaves Peter Casey because he's not a danger, and Doyle makes the block. He made the decision. He knew that I can leave the man furthest away from my danger area, and it was Doyle said, "I'm making a decision here." David Reedy was attacking. The danger was the run of Cathal O'Neill. Paddy Doyle recognised that, and those decisions, you make them and you live and you die by them, because you can make that decision to leave your man in the backs and it's the wrong decision. But Paddy Doyle does that at a crucial moment of the game and denies Cathal O'Neill a free shot on goal. And again, every single one of those counts. Every one of those count at the end when it's a 2-point margin. And it was just, it was so impressive, because I've kept expecting, watching it live, I kept expecting Limerick to do enough for Dublin to come up short, for them to be heroic and lose, because they still had so much to do after scoring the 2 goals, and they just had to withstand so much pressure from Limerick. And Peter Casey did well there. You saw David Reedy do well there. But it was just,
I think Limerick are always under the microscope because we expect so much of them as well. Like, any poor pass from to hand, because we expect ball to hand all the time from Limerick players. It's like watching Man City over the last couple of years, and they've one bad season and everybody is like hugely critical of what they do. So I think once that you don't necessarily have performance that we expect from them, like, we always refer to what they have done. So, like, it's nearly like a very hypercritical situation of where they were just a small bit off, as you said. It's a 1 or 2% off, and that's
1 or 2%. And losing individual battles that they don't normally lose. Not that, and then for our full back line and our half back line to be such a little influence on the game, it just completely surprised me. And it was Dublin forcing their plan on Limerick, but also just a little bit of caginess when you have the extra man. I was surprised Limerick didn't use their athleticism and put the ball through the hand more. And go.
So I had to write this down just for context, James, right? Because it's a sign of old age. So Galway on the 39th minute got a really good goal. Malai went in on the side. Really good finish. Critical, Shelley maybe could have done slightly better because the angle was really tight. From that, it was 1-12.
A great finish now, in fairness.
Oh, super finish, like good and low. Like you tell most forwards, good and low. And it's not easy because everybody wants to hang it. I heard Joe Canning during the week discussing that on the Sunday game, where you always want to see your name in lights. So that's the reality. Like, when you're in that situation, you want to hang it. But the right thing in your head is to actually go low. But from that, it goes to 112 to 17 points. So it's a 2-point game. From that point, and it was nearly like a tip bomb where they were like, we actually need to start playing here. And what they done within 10 minutes. So from that point, from that goal, Orman got the puck out on the left-hand side, straight over the bar, right, which brought it back. But then from that point, 10 minutes on, so to the 49th minute, there was a massive change in tempo from Tipperary. So Tipperary dictated the tempo. They went up 2 or 3 gears, and Galway couldn't handle them. As a result of that, in that 10-minute period, Tipperary went 5 points with no reply, and Galway didn't look like scoring. So, so this is, I looked firstly at the poor tempo of Galway. Okay, so as you can see here, right, and I'll talk about this in a second, there's a lot of space always in front of the tip full forward line because their halfbacks go back a lot, and it creates a pocket of space each side. It's basically between the 21 and the 45. Okay, in this case, Mannion has it, but we can see here that Gavin Lee is highlighted. He needs to be running back for that ball, demanding the ball, because his position centre back, he dictates it. Mannion then has to go long across the field, which means that the ball is slowed down, and Keelan Fahy, when he sees it, He's like, I don't know who to give it to here now because Tipperary have gone touch tight. He's looking around. He doesn't know who to give it to and just decides to strike the ball in. Okay, there's no pace to this, which means it's very, very difficult as a forward to try and create space inside and to shoot. Okay, but because the game is slowed down trying to get the ball through, a complete different pace what we've seen in York Lips versus Limerick and Dublin, it allows Tipperary to get their midfielders back. Okay, so again, we'll see that we saw this within this 10-minute clip. These are all taking 10 minutes. We'll see here, look at the speed of Darren McCarthy. He is putting himself into 5th gear to put pressure on the keeper. So it's not an easy ball. Now, this is a great touch here by Coney, right? Again, Fahy is looking for the ball over the top, which is the right thing to do. But the key thing here is look at the pace in which he's running at. Like, he should be running 100% out to get this ball and put it over the bar. Now, this is Connolly that's highlighted. He has 15, 20 yards to try and make up, which should be next to impossible for any inter-county player. But watch this. Back, he takes his time. Like, he's jogging there. That should be over the bar, and he should be back in his position. Instead, Connolly gets back. O'Mara realises what he's done and actually claps him. Again, this is Breen coming through Concannon here. Head up, goes through the ball, all right? But Galway are actually really well set up here. We can see that they're all goal side. Tipperary should kind of like say to themselves, all right, we'll give him the ball and we'll stand off him. So, well covered. As it progresses, right, if we watch Ormond here, Ormond doesn't get stuck in. Because why? Because he doesn't want the ball to get passed through the middle. That simple pop pass that we've probably seen a lot more in football, create the overlap. So he pulls on the brakes, okay? Dahi Burke gets a bang here off John, hands it back. Again, poor pass, poor play, David Burke here. Ormond now realises that TJ Brennan could potentially be on. So he goes touch tight now because he realises he's an option. Okay, goes touch tight. Burke is under pressure. Bad ball into the middle. Turned over. Back to Willie Connors. Strike. Okay, so you can see the difference in tempo. Galway don't know what to do. They're looking for someone to give it to, whereas Tip get the ball, it's bang, bang, straight to hand, it's over the bar. Okay, here's another example. Okay, Fatty goes out, looking for Cathal Mannion. So this is within that kind of crunch period where they haven't scored in 10 plus minutes. Cathal Mannion is the most potent forward that Galway have had in the last couple of seasons. He should not be down there looking for the ball. He's getting frustrated, hits the ball across. Stakelin picks it up. Ormond, Morris is on here if he wants it. Bang, over the bar. Okay, so Galway are getting the ball very static. They're looking for someone to come to him. It's not happening. They're literally standing. You said there about Sean Finn standing, hitting the ball. That's allowing the Dublin, or in this case, the Tipperary, to go touch tight. They don't become options then. So the slower that the teams are actually getting through the lines, the easier it is for you to mark, because you can actually grab them and say, you're not running. And as a result, you're not an option now. Whereas on the other side, in this 10 minutes, so after the goal went in by Malloy, the speed in which Tipperary changed their play was incredible. Okay, so when we show the clips here of the Tipperary speed, okay, so in Tipperary, and this is something what we have noticed in Tipperary for the last probably 10 plus years, their ball to hand and their vision is exceptional. Okay, so when the clips comes up here now, we will show you Tipperary. But here we can see Shelley, right? This ball has gone wide from Tom Monaghan, right? The ball is not even actually gone wide, to be fair, because the umpire is still looking up to see where it is. But look at the speed of Shelley. Also notice here, Ronan Maher going back, looking for the ball because he wants to increase the speed. Okay? He realises that Connor is coming close. Bang, ball to hand, into O'Mara, ball into Morris, one touch, into the hand, into that pocket of space, mind you. Now the ball is wide, but that is literally 3 seconds by the time it goes to O'Mara over the bar. Okay, again, a lovely turn here by Malloy. Does really well. Shelley, great block. But watch here now. Watch Morgan, right? He's looking up. He has two options. He has Willie Connors that comes deep, and he also has Ronan Maher. But watch the speed of hand here. So head up. He gets the ball. He strikes it straight into hand. It's not a low ball. Straight to hand. Bang, bang.
And I love that.
Yeah, but that's where it creates problem. Now, this is the space, right? So as we can see here, that is across the line. So even though this is just a patch, this is the space in which Tipperary get the ball a lot of the time. So we see Jake Morris, we see the likes of Andrew Ormond, we see the likes of your Darren McCarthy getting the ball in this space because they're coming from full forward out to that space. It's bang over the bar. Why can he do it? It's because of the speed of the hand that they're getting the ball in from the likes of Ronan Maher, from the likes of Willie Connors. And Galway struggled. Once that Tipperary put pressure on them, they couldn't actually handle the increase in pace. So again, ball across. We can see the number of bodies trying to get back. TJ Brennan, he goes to Tom Monaghan, misses the ball. This is brilliant work here from Stakelum. Flicks. But brilliant, gets over the ball. But watch, looking for someone back. Ronan Maher, bang. See how fast that is into the space. Free in. Because Mannion was under so much pressure, he has to pull Jason Ford's hand. And you have two fellas, again, in that pocket of space that they target so much because of the quick ball going inside, and you can see the frustration here. Look, into that space, and again, that was really a free, okay, and it was over the bar, okay? Whereas, again, we'll watch it here. If we see this ball is coming down, okay, bang, maybe a free in the back, but watch this. Ronan Maher is actually coming. He now realizes where everyone is. Tipperary are well set up. They have their two midfielders that we can see here, literally on the midfield line. Okay, so Ronan comes, realizes Noel is here. Watch this, Noel, one touch, bang, across. Again, over to Séamus, bang. Now it was wide. It's not about the wide, it's about the speed.
It's the speed of transfer.
It's the transfer. It's the transfer in which they get the ball to O'Mara. So it was Ronan to Noel to Kennedy to O'Mara, all in the space of about 3 or 4 seconds. And that's something that Galway really, really struggled with.
And it's funny, that tempo, right? That's transferable across grades, across clubs. Okay. So like when you go from junior to intermediate to senior, it's the tempo that changes. It's the speed of ball transfer and the speed of ball movement that changes when you go up the grades. And maybe a little bit of positional awareness and tactical awareness comes into play. But really it's like, we played in a league semi-final recently against the Piershik, and the difference that what we had played before, because the club I'm playing with, we haven't played. We've come from junior, Croke and Finney, the club I've joined since I moved to my wife's club. It's been junior to intermediate now to Premier Intermediate, but the difference in speed, the tempo which ball is transferred from stick, from hand, from long strike into space, the speed at which the ball is collected, the first touches, like that's transferable. And Tipperary, I think you're right to mention the effect of David Herity in the coaching there. Like their touch has been superb, and it was evident from the first round robin game against Limerick that they were that they had the energy to challenge physically and the running to challenge and the speed to close down. That's one thing. But then when the ball is in hand, they move it. And I think Jake Morris is one of the most exciting players to watch at the moment because he comes deep, he tracks back, he tackles, and when the ball is in hand, he's lethal. And like you saw Daithí Burke there when he's turned inside, I want none of that. Like it's because he can shoot off his left, he can turn in and shoot off his right, he can pick a killer pass to a John McGrath or a Jason Ford because he's very unselfish. So he's had to learn that. Like and there was a lot of pressure on Jake Morris when he came into that Tipperary setup. He's got
7 or 8 years in that setup now, like, you know, so he's not.
But he was the new Séamus Cannon, like, so he was Nina Rogue's. He was Nina Rogue's like golden boy. He was under a lot of pressure, but he is bloody grown into that role. He's done so well, and he's really enjoyable to watch him. And he's a leader now for Tipperary. But that speed, the Tipperary will get caught if they have to turn it on. If they turn it off the next day against Kilkenny, then they're out of the races because Kilkenny have been patchy at times, but you know the patches that they have, if Tipperary switch off, you know Kilkenny will murder them in that patch that they switch off.
That 10-minute period was the turning point because ultimately, as I said to you, it was only a 2-point game, but within that 39-minute to 49-minute period, Tipperary outscored them. But also what they done was because they changed the pace of the game, I think it actually wore them down even more. As in, they looked fatigued, they looked tired, and I'll show you something in a second. But also, and this is something I wrote down as well, you take away the goal towards the end for Galway, okay? They only scored 5 points in the last 20 minutes. And I think And that is ultimately because of the change in pace. So because, as you know, when you're playing a team that are far more physical, they move you around a lot more, they wear you. And all of a sudden, then they just couldn't get up to the pace.
Yeah.
And a simple example of this was the puckouts. So
Yeah.
the puckouts within this period, I decided to go with 3 clips on this. I could have shown more. But I thought Darragh Fahy on goal was maybe a small bit naive. I know now he's won a couple of underage All-Ireland medals, but I thought he could have managed the game. You showed how Dublin managed the game much better from the keeper. I actually thought that they done the opposite. Okay, so because Tipperary now decided to go up into high gear, they actually went man on man inside. They stood 5 to 10 yards depending on the position. John McGrath is the key example here because he's looking around. He's making sure that they're not going here short to Gavin Lee because he's standing off and he can hold that pocket of space. Okay, now Gavin Lee actually has to run out onto the likes of your Sam O'Farrell to try and get close to him. But because the ball is put under pressure, it goes over the sideline. That's a no-no for a keeper. The ball cannot go over the sideline. Now, they're under pressure within this period. He's actually looking to increase the pace even more rather than what you showed where Brennan slowed it down. So he's now looking to increase the pace. And as a result of increasing the pace, Mannion is fine, right? But when it goes across to Keenan Fatty, it actually goes again over the sideline. So what happens? This. Look at this. So as a result of that, he's 4 from 4 from sidelines. I read recently, and that's a killer on it. That's a killer on a team. If you're conceding puckets like that, it's an absolute nightmare. And this is the same play. Okay, so they have to get another point. This is straight away after looking for someone. Great, great work here from Ormond straight over the bar. So within, I would say, probably a 20-30 seconds, there's been a 2-point swing from a cut from forward and also from a dispossession from Ormond.
But fundamentally, I don't disagree with. I know they were under pressure. I don't disagree with him actually trying to increase the tempo, increase the pace, because I think he's trying to, lead the team. He's trying to show a bit of leadership, but it wasn't connected. It wasn't connected up the chain. It wasn't. So everybody, the puck-out setup, particularly from your backs. If your backs are slow to get back into their position, then short puck-outs don't work.
Keenan Fatty is an example there, though, because he wasn't even prepared. And even when the ball went over the sideline, it was his body reaction was like, I'm exhausted.
But that's hard. That's hard to keep your body disciplined, to keep your head up, to keep your head tuned in, even when things are going bad. It's difficult, and I've been there. If you show bad body language, you're giving the team encouragement is what you're doing, and you're actually hurting your goalie. So Nicky Quaid just absolutely F us out of it if we weren't ready.
Yeah,
but he could do that because he was a leader and we all respected him and we listened. And you wouldn't do it again. You weren't going to be slow back to your spot if he gave you a ball. It wasn't going to happen. And so he was a key leader figure for that team. So Fahy has to grow on that, and that has to connect. That has to join up all the way up the thing. So speeding it up might have been the right thing to do, but like you said, when everybody wasn't ready to do it, well then it falls apart.
Yeah. I'm very conscious this is a kind of a slightly longer episode than we've probably done. So we decided that we'd finish off on some key actions. Do you want to go over this one, Sean?
No, I don't want to go over this at all. Nolly, this was your idea.
Okay, so and you know what? Let's take away from the analysis of it, right? This is more about their desire to actually break a tackle and go for the juggler. I actually remember the goal that Hetherington got against Wexford
was
literally a carbon copy of this.
Carbon copy.
Spun and got the ball. But again, here he is, an absolute nuisance inside and great finish. But I don't think that Dublin at times get the plaudits for their hurling ability. Those 2 goals were exceptional goals that if it was a Kilkenny, a Limerick, a Tipperary, a Waterford, a Cork, whoever it was, people be talking about it. That goal, particularly the first goal, was exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. Joe Canning got one against Kilkenny. Remember the ball was coming over the top. It could have been even from a puck out. I remember he kind of caught it like this and spun. We all spoke about it for probably about 2 or 3 weeks. That goal was just as good because his angle was so tight, and to be able to roof it past potentially one of the best keepers in the modern game is exceptional. So we'll just show it again because Collie is a mad dub and he keeps on writing to us up Dublin. But like, look at the angle he's on here. Look at this. Like, this is very difficult, and like to be doing it on the spin and to get so much power and to be also very accurate on it, like that is a difficult. If he went back to training tonight, like what night? It's like Tuesday night. They're probably training tonight in Dublin. If he went back and done that 100 times, he mightn't do it again. It's that difficult to try and execute.
Well, he's done it. He's done it twice in the championship. So, like,
he actually said though against Wexford, he didn't actually hit the ball properly, and that's probably why he scored.
I love the humility, yeah. But the first goal, exceptionally well worked. Ronan Hayes. If you didn't know that Ronan Hayes puts the head down and runs at you, you didn't study. But the second one was hard to watch because it was just Barry Murphy got caught marking Heatherton. Dan Morrissey got caught marking Cian O'Sullivan. And then when the ball dropped, Dan Morrissey goes to compete. But Barry Murphy was marking Heatherton, so he competed. And you had the dreaded 2 men up for the 1 ball. When Conor O'Rian drops it in there, he didn't have a whole pile of hope. Like, they didn't get much joy out of it. And then Cian O'Sullivan, that breaking ball, he stitches it. Like, it's just hard because like that's the kind of stuff that the mistakes that Limerick don't make. It's the Limerick it's a mistake that Limerick don't make. Yeah. And we give out about Dublin and Nolan Park, but that's just as fundamental a defensive mistake in the biggest games.
I'm waiting for you to say it wouldn't happen in my day because that would really wrap things up.
Noli, if you did a clip show of me playing fullback, it would not be pretty. So I'm not gonna say it.
Look, we're nearly up on an hour now. So with that in mind, we better wrap it up. And again, thanks for giving us your insight into what was probably a horrific analysis week for yourself.
A great performance, and like I would say like a purely seismic. Like it was the ripples were felt across the country. Like people walking into the Tipperary Galway game were like, "What happened in Dublin?" That's what they were talking about. They weren't talking about will Collar Whelan play well, or is Jason Ford okay, or is Owen Connolly back. It was what the hell happened in Dublin. That's what people were talking about. It was monumental, and it was earned. It was earned the hard way. 14 men, courageous, brave, all that stuff. It took character. And listen, John Kiley and consistent to his character as well. You know, he put the spotlight on what Dublin did, not what Limerick didn't do. And I hope today we did the same.
Yeah, and also as a result of that, I think the Dublin Cork game is going to be a sellout. I'm after getting a couple of texts from Cork people looking for tickets, so that should be an absolute treat to be up there.
Can they do it again? Can they do it again? Can that work against Cork? And have they improved? Have they improved since the quarterfinal against Cork last year? That's the question.
Yeah. So with that in mind, let's wrap up for the second or third time. For less dramatic analysis, if you want to put it like that, you can tune into In Detail with the two lads. They're on tomorrow. There's no way it'll be as exciting as Dublin Hurlers beating Limerick, obviously. So with that in mind, thanks very much. We will be back with all the juicy. Look at that! I thought that was a Tipperary jersey for a second when shaking Neil's hand was clearly not. Sorry, Séamus. I know you're not happy as you sit back in your chair. We'll be back for the semi-finals. Hopefully, it will be a Dublin result. Keep our head of production really, really happy. So you can keep on Texas every so often, shooting up the dubs. If Dublin get to the hurling final, I'd say there's some chance of getting tickets for that one. So with that in mind, thanks to Séamus. Very, very insightful as usual. And we will see you next week.
Here's Noli.